in which the deities in Vrindavan are worshipped in the summer season. And it's interesting to note that these ways of keeping the deities, their servants, and the pilgrims cool in summer are still practiced in most temples in Vrindavan. I've seen it. In most temples, at least, where the deity is and the altar, etc., even around, there's no air conditioning. They keep it traditional, the traditional Braj, which is the best way to live. And they keep cool. So I would like to conclude today with a quote from my very dear god sister, Yamuna Dasi, which I found on a wonderful website. You may have visited this website. It's called Unalloyed, the Jamuna Devi Legacy Project. Unalloyed, the Jamuna Devi Legacy Project. And there I was reading that Jamuna once wrote about her early experiences in India. And it's very revealing, very instructive for all of us. And I'll just recite what she wrote. Quote, she's speaking about her time in early days in Vrindavan. Quote, the summer of 1972 was a challenging time for all of our small party. It was the first time in my life that I had undergone such insurmountable austerity. The heat in Vrindavan was incredibly unbearable, and some people were going to the hospital with heat exposure. The temperature hovered around 115 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. And we had no fans, no screens, no windows, sometimes very little water, and we were eating just some boiled dal soup and chapatis, as per Srila Prabhupada's instructions. She goes on, it was a daunting experience. So I would pray each day, please, my Radha Damodar, help me to conquer this heat, to become impervious to it. Deal with it as Prabhupada before me and as the Goswamis do today. Let me tolerate it better tomorrow than I have today. I have often reflected on an instruction, she writes, Srila Prabhupada gave me some months earlier in Calcutta. He must have foreseen me. He must have foreseen me in this situation. For he chuckled as he said, Yamuna Dasi, in Vrindavan, you must become fireproof. Sometimes the heat is unbearable there. You have already lived in London, and you have become waterproof. So much rain was there. So now you must become both fireproof and waterproof. Then you can live anywhere and everywhere and not be bothered. So she goes on. So on the spiritual platform, Vrindavan was one of the most glorious places to be in. We were surrounded by the lotus shelter of our acharyas and great Vaishnavas and Srila Prabhupada's work. But on the material side, it was a whole new type of service. Hare Krishna. Jamuna Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Hare Bol. So that's some of the traditional ways which the Brajabasis worship their beloved deities, just focused on the deities, keeping them cool in the summertime, in that hot weather and that loo, that wind which blows so hard that's like hot poison, it's described sometimes. Keeping the devotees, the pujaris, and the devotees cool in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So thank you very much. I hope that this lecture has given all of you some solace as well from the difficulties that we're all aware of now that are happening in the world in Europe and Eastern Europe. My heart goes out to everyone affected, not just the Ukraine devotees, but the devotees in Europe and Russia and everywhere who feel the pains of what's going on. Let us pray that Lord Nrsingadev protects all of our Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna. So I'll be back in a couple of days with more solace, with more nectar from Sri Vrindavan Dham. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Sham. Vrindavan in the summer key. All right, well. Hare Krishna, everyone. Very warm welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. But first, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we are continuing with our series on the summer season in Vrindavan. You may remember in our last lecture, we discussed the traditional ways that Vrindavan's deities are worshipped in the hot weather of summer. Much of that information we gleaned from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Hari Bhakti Vilas. However, Srila Sanatana Goswami explains in his book Dhira Damodara that there are further ways of worshiping the Lord, which are not written in Hari Bhakti Vilas. In Dhira Damodara, he writes, quote, "To remove cold in the winter season, supply the deities with warm clothes, a stove heater, and hot spicy foods. In the summer season, offer the Lord cold drinks mixed with ice and cooling ingredients." And he continues, "In both winter and summer, after eating, one should make a nice bed for the Lord and request him to take rest in it." And he says, "In the winter, give him sufficient rest, but in summer, you can give the Lord an extended amount of rest because summer days are longer." That's so nice. Then he concludes, "All of these rules of the established acharyas must be followed." So there you have some more detailed information, how to worship the Lord, and your deities in summertime. So in our Vrindavan Research Institute, I found another beautiful summer pastime in the book Yugal Milan Katha. It has a nice ring to it. Yugal Milan Katha by Kishori Mohandas. Now I did some research. He was a poet who lived around the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wrote specifically in the Braj Bhasa language. Now, most of his poetries have unfortunately been lost in time, but scholars say that his way of describing pastimes is known as Lila Samadhi, which means that just by listening to the Lila, one becomes fully immersed in the pastime. So, Kishori Mohandas, he writes, "Once, on a very hot, sunny afternoon, Krishna was sitting under the shadow of a kadamba tree in a forest called Viraha Nikandan Van. Viraha Nikandan Van, which translated literally means the forest of pacifying burning separation. The forest of pacifying burning separation." And we'll see why as we go on here. Now, at this time, all of Krishna's cowherd boyfriends had gone to Bhadravan to play ball, and Krishna was just taking a break from herding the cows. Now, I was reading. The poet writes that Viraha Nikandan Van is a very special forest. Why? Because he writes, it's filled with the sweet smell of gunja vines, the shadows of tamal trees, the bitterness of neem trees, the intoxication of malati flower vines, the colors of sadabahar flower trees, and the love of kadamba trees. Very special for us. Now, as Krishna started to fall asleep under the kadamba tree, suddenly a big shower of kadamba flowers started falling down on him. Our poet says, as if welcoming him to the forest. So Krishna smiled, and picking up one kadamba flower, he started smelling it. And as soon as he smelled the sweet fragrance of the flower, his body started feeling intense separation from Radha, and all these ecstatic symptoms started appearing on his body. And our poet says this was due to the fact that the color of the kadamba flower is exactly the color of Sri Radha's complexion. And that reminded me that there's that photo of Prabhupada, with a beautiful flower there, and it's a yellow gold color. Maybe it was a kadamba flower, I don't know. And he was looking at that flower and he was saying, this is the color of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Famous photo and caption there. So Krishna became ecstatic just smelling and seeing the color of this flower because it reminded him of Srimati Radharani. And within moments, Krishna was calling out to Sri Radha as follows. O Radhe, you are the sunshine of my life, the moonlight of my passion, the ocean of my love, and the sky of my happiness. You are the sunshine of my life, the moonlight of my passion, and the ocean of my love, and the sky of my happiness. Where are you? Please become visible to me. Now, after listening to Krishna's appeals to his beloved Sri Radha, the vines of the forest spoke up. Now remember, in Vrindavan, everything's personal. All living entities there are fully realized pure devotees of the Lord, including the vines. So the vines of the forest, they spoke up and said to him, Dearest Krishna, you are in the forest of separation. Whenever the gopis and Radha feel your separation, this forest gives them shelter. And we pacify them with songs. So curious, Krishna turned towards the vines and he asked, Dearest forest vines, what songs do you sing to pacify Sri Radha and her gopis? And the vines replied very nicely, we sing songs about meeting one's beloved. So they become pacified. Sambhog. So Krishna said, then you must know how much separation Sri Radha feels when she's away from me. And the vines replied, oh, yes, we do. And then they explained, apart from you, Sri Radha's body burns in separation like the summer season. Her eyes flood with tears like the monsoon season. Her hands and feet become cold like the winter season. Her heart breaks into pieces like leaves falling in the autumn season. Her breath becomes fast like the dewy season, and her desires blossom like flowers in the spring season. Transcendental poetry, Braj poetry. Now Krishna became mesmerized hearing the feelings that Sri Radha undergoes in separation from him. So he said, my dear vines, being separated from Sri Radha, my body feels weak and is burning like the surface of the sun, like the hot lava of a volcano, like melted gold, and like the fire of a blazing yajna. So the vine said, oh, then let us ask Vayu Rani. Vayu Rani. Vayu Rani is the queen of winds in the forest of Braj. Let's ask her to go and collect dust from the lotus feet of Sri Radha, and that dust will soothe your feelings of separation. So the Vayu Rani quickly went to Varshana, where Sri Radha was sitting in a beautiful kunja, a beautiful grove, and blowing by Sri Radha, she took some dust from her lotus feet. Then she returned to Viraha Nikandan Van and gave this dust to the vines, who mixed the dust of Radharani's lotus feet with Jamuna jal, with Jamuna water. And then those vines, they smeared that mixture all over Krishna's body. Now the poet Kishori Mohandasi writes, what was the effect? On his forehead, it worked like a chintamani gem. On his throat, it worked like nectar to the thirsty. On his chest, it worked like a sapphire gem. And on his arms, it worked like cold winds in the rain, altogether making him feel 1,000,000 times cooler than sandalwood paste, because he was burning in separation. Then, at last, the vines, they wrote Shri Radha all over Krishna's body with sandalwood paste and the twig of a tulsi plant. Shri Radha, Shri Radha, Shri Radha, Shri Radha. Now when Krishna saw the names of Shri Radha on his body, he felt satisfied. Actually, I found a Bengali saying, Gaur Shaim Duhu Ek Hai Antar Bahir Roop Deiraj Me Lotiye Kotikam Duklup. The form of Radha and Krishna are as one love. The difference is just the colors of their complexions. When Krishna's body is covered by the dust from Shri Radha's lotus feet, his pain and separation is pacified, as we see in this pastime. So then, Krishna thanked the vines and Vayu Devi, the wind of the Vrindavan forest, for easing his separation from Shri Radha. But then he admitted, my body feels rejuvenated after this treatment, but my heart is still feeling separation from Shri Priya, another beautiful name. My heart is still feeling separation from Shri Priya. Let me run now to Varshana, where the queen of my heart always stays with her girlfriends, with her sakis. And as Krishna raced out of the forest, the vines, the trees, and the pathways of this exceptionally mystical forest cheered him on, wishing him the best in his meeting with Shri Radha. Now, Krishna's the master of all mystics, and so he reached Varshana in a matter of seconds. And there he found Shri Radha and her friends swimming in a clear pool of water, a little kund, to keep cool from the summer heat. And our poet, he comments that Shri Radha made the fish in that pond feel ashamed by her expert swimming. And when Shri Radha saw Krishna, she very shyly welcomed him. But Lalita Saki, who we've discussed many times is always protective of Shri Radha, whispered something into Vrindadevi's ear. And then Vrindadevi very quickly came forward and said to Krishna, Krishna, you are in Gopi's territory now. In order to stay here, you have to entertain all of them as well as Shri Radha. So Krishna, okay, have to entertain everybody to stay here. I'll find some type of entertainment. So he thought for a while, and then he suddenly came up with an idea. He said, I will hide under the water here in this pond, and all of you gopis, along with your queen, can try and find me. This will be our entertainment. So then, after asking the gopis to close their eyes, Krishna entered the pond, and he hid under a very large lotus leaf. Sometimes in India we see that. There's lotuses in a pond, but sometimes there's a big leaf, huge leaf, with lotus flowers. So he hid under such lotus leaf. And then opening their eyes, Shri Radha and the gopis very eagerly jumped into the pond to search for Krishna. But as time passed, they were unable to find him, and they became anxious for his safety, because they were thinking, no one can hold their breath this long. So then after another fruitless search, Shri Radha and the gopis finally came out of the water, and sitting on the bank of the pond, they just started crying incessantly. That all of a sudden, just in your mind's eye, you can picture this, all of a sudden, Krishna leapt out of the water onto the bank of the pond with this big lotus leaf on his head. So the gopis were overjoyed to see Krishna safe and sound, but seeing this large green, lotus leaf drooping over Krishna's head, it caused them to laugh so hard that the poet says they all fell over. And then after a short time, they became, composed, and they carefully wrapped the divine couple in colorful dry towels. And then they offered them a full artik. And at the end of the artik, the gopis stood before Krishna, and they awarded him the name Jal Jivan. We will call you Jal Jivan, meaning literally one whose life exists even underwater. Jal Jivan, one whose life exists even underwater. And there are several instances, many actually, where Krishna spends a long time in or under the water. Like during the Kaliya Dhaman Leela, when he fought the Kaliya serpent, I think it was 7 straight hours he was in the water of the Jamuna. And when Nanda Maharaj was taken to Varuna Loka, under the waters of the Jamuna, we know that Krishna went there to save him. He was under the water for a long time. So Jal Jivan, one whose life exists even underwater. So our Kishori Mohandas, we can say ours because he's a great Vaishnava and he's enlightening us with these pastimes. He ends his beautiful poem by writing, I really like this, I pray to the Lord of good times that my good days will come soon, and I will swim in the pond of love with the divine couple and witness them enjoying their loving pastimes. So sweet. So I thought today we could end with some very beautiful verses from Govinda Lilamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Very pertinent to what we've been discussing today. So he writes, seeing you both enter the forest cottage, this forest of Vrindavan has become very happy. On the pretext of its vines moving as the gopis walk by them, Vrindavan forest is dancing in ecstasy and shaking its garments of sumana flower pollen. This forest jubilantly welcomes you both by placing a wonderful carpet of multicolored flowers on the path before your lotus feet. The splendor of your moon-like faces has caused the moonshine-studded pavements here to melt. Vrindavan forest has now taken that moonstone water, mixed it with shaimaka grains, durva grass, and exquisite lotus flowers growing by the path, and presented that mixture to both of you as water for washing your lotus feet. This Vrindavan forest now offers you both arghya water, mixed with durva grass and sumana flowers and various new shoots. This forest also offers you ajman water, mixed with jaya fruits, cloves, jati fruits, and fresh buds that have fallen on the path before your feet. Vrindavan forest jubilantly anoints your limbs with the fragrance of its own sandalwood, musk, aguru, and kumkuma carried in the breeze. This forest dusts your bodies with the scented powder of many kinds of flower pollen. This Vrindavan forest offers artik to you. On the pretext of a swarm of bumblebees carrying waves of aromatic pollen from various flowers, it offers you incense. On the pretext of moving champak flowers, it offers you a lamp. It offers you foodstuff in the form of its own delicious fruits. All glories to Sri Vrindavan's forests. Hare Krishna. So wonderful. So we'll end there. I pray that this lecture today has inspired all of you in your love for the 12 forests of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thank you to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. So we'll be back in a few days. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, back home, back to Godhead ki. Nitai Gaur Pranandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Sham. Hare Krishna. See you soon. Hare Krishna, everyone. A warm welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. But most important, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. So we are continuing with our series on the summer season in Vrindavan. This lecture is number 6, actually. Now, in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prabhupada's book, in chapter 18, Srila Prabhupada gives a wonderful description of summer in Vrindavan. He writes, quote, "The inhabitants of Vrindavan were never disturbed by the scorching heat of the sun or high summer temperatures. The lakes of Vrindavan are surrounded by green grasses, and various kinds of lotus flowers bloom there, such as the Kalhara Kasjot Pala. And the air blowing in Vrindavan carries the aromatic pollen of those lotus flowers. When the particles of water from the waves of the Jamuna, along with the lakes and the waterfalls, touched the bodies of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they automatically felt a cooling effect. Therefore, they were practically undisturbed by the summer season." Unquote. Jai Shri Prabhupada. But as we described in a previous lecture, Mother Purnamasi and Vrinda Devi, they make arrangements for the inconvenience of summer heat as a means to facilitate Radha and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. In this way, summer gives the Brajabasis extra services to keep Krishna cool. For example, the Acharyas say that Mother Yasoda and her gopi assistants would make butter every day by churning yogurt. Then she would feed Krishna the leftover buttermilk, sweetened or salty depending on the time of the year. This drink cools the body in summer. So Mother Yasoda would provide Krishna with plenty of buttermilk, salted and lightly spiced during the summer months to keep him cool. Also, the hot days of summer facilitated the Brajabasis' loving exchanges with Krishna in another very interesting way. I was reading. For when Krishna would come back from herding the cows in the forest each day in the summer, it was a great relief and a source of unlimited joy for the Brajabasis, who were not only tired and exhausted from the summer heat, but they were burning in pangs of separation from Krishna. Now, Kavikarna Purna, he writes in his Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and I'll quote again here. The Brajabasis took immense pleasure in seeing their beloved Krishna and Balaram after a long summer day. Krishna's beautiful dark blue curly locks peeking out from the edge of his limestone white turban enchanted the eyes of everyone. The dust rising from the hooves of the cows created an auspicious atmosphere. Gentle breezes added a comfortable sensation. The breeze, purified by the touch of Krishna's transcendental body, soothed and satisfied all the Brajabasis as they watched the Lord returning with his boys and his cows. Hare Krishna. So summer, with its hot weather, has its role to play in Vrindavan Leela, facilitating more rasa. Now, our acharyas write that there are two places, I was reading, two places in particular where Radha and Krishna go to get cool in the hot summer. Two places they go to get cool in summer. Now one is the kunjas of Braj, and the other is the caves of Govardhan Hill. Now a kunja is defined as a large garden which is denser than a forest, but whose trees are no larger than the size of a human being. It's very dense, but the trees are about the size of a human being. And within these kunjas are smaller groves called nikunjas. You have the big kunja, and then you have the nikunjas. And these nikunjas, these smaller groves, are actually where Radha and Krishna rest and enjoy their playful pastimes. And because these nikunjas are so small, there's a very limited space in them to sit or to stand. So only Lalita Saki can go inside when Radha and Krishna require some seva. It's fascinating information. Now, in these smaller nikunjas, there's only small lanterns filled with fireflies to give light. Now, amongst these nikunjas, there's even a smaller version called a Nibrita Kunja, where even Lalita doesn't go in. Just Radha and Krishna, they rest there. So no one can disturb them. And in these Nibrita Nikunjas, the only light comes from what are called the mirror rings of Radha and Krishna. They have rings with like mirrors, the mirror rings of Radha and Krishna, which reflect in their ornaments, their shringara, causing enough light so they can just see each other. And lastly, there's the smallest kunja, which is called Nivid Nibrita Nikunja, Nivid Nibrita Nikunja, in which the only light is the reflection of Radha and Krishna's eyes. Wow, so sweet. Now, Kavi Karnapurna writes of these various kunjas in his illustrious Ananda Vrindavan Champu, saying that the Vanadevis keep a variety of pleasurable substances like pan and chandan and pots of cool sandal-scented water inside these kunjas. And he says there's also containers of refreshing drinks like madhu and mango nectar waiting to satisfy the divine couple and to relieve their fatigue. So with this really interesting, detailed information, we get a better understanding of the song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which we all know very well. We sing it every day before any class. Jai Radha Madhava. This is a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which Srila Prabhupada introduced into our society very early in the movement. It's from his Gita Vali. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Bhalaba Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatara Vanachari. Every devotee knows that by heart. Translation is, Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many loving pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan, the kunjas. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Braja, the holder of the great hill called Govardhan, the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Braj, and he wanders in the forests along the banks of the river Jamuna. Now, the other place that I mentioned where Radha and Krishna go in the hot summer are the caves of Govardhan Hill. And again, in Ananda Vrindavan Champa, we hear that, quote, during the summer, the pathways become hard and dry from the blistering heat of the sun. A person's fingernails become brittle and crack. But inside the caves of Govardhan, where Krishna enjoys with his beloveds, there is always a soothing and cooling atmosphere due to its natural springs and small ponds of water. Giriraj Govardhan Ki. Now, again, spending time in the Vrindavan Research Center, we have that golden opportunity. There's many shastras, and I found one book by the poet Kishore Das, who we quoted several classes ago, and in his writings he reveals a very beautiful summer pastime in that work, in one of his works. Now, Kishore Das was a medieval poet, and he was initiated into the Gaudiya Vaishnava line of Gadadhar Pandit's parampara. Now, he writes that one day, Radha and Krishna were sitting in the shadow of a banyan tree on a very hot summer day, when Sri Radha said, "My beloved Krishna, I'm very thirsty, and as a result, my throat, my lips, and my whole body are very dry." So Krishna replied, "My dear Radhe, don't worry, I will run and get some cool water from the waterfalls at Govardhan Hill." But Sri Radha said, "Krishna, no. This thirst will not go away with cool water. This thirst will only go away by the sweet melodies of your flute. Whenever your flute comes to the ears of Braja's gopis, it provides a refreshing rain of mercy, which helps to quench our thirst to always be with you. There is an endless drought in our desert-like hearts that even the rain from our eyes," what's the rain from our eyes? Our tears. "That even the rain from our eyes, our tears, cannot relieve, because most of the time we're separated from you. It is only the monsoon melodies of your flute which can bring life again to the dry desert of our hearts." So then Krishna smiled and he said, "Oh, this can only be because I play your all-merciful names with my flute. Devotees chant your names on beads. Brahmanas chant your names on their fingers. Paramahansas chant your names with their breath. Mahabhagavatas chant your name in their heartbeats. And me, your lifetime servant Devi, I chant your names on my flute. Therefore, with your permission, I will now play my flute, which will bring us even closer than we are now." So Sri Radha smiled with her approval. So Krishna began playing his flute. Now, I read that the particular melody that he chose was the beautiful Chandra Gata Rag. Remember we were discussing ragas the other day, how different melodies are played at different times of the day to bring forth certain loving sentiments. So in this particular occasion, Krishna, he chose the Chandra Gata Rag, which I found out is compared to moonlight, which cools the body, mind, and heart. If you play that raga, it's like moonlight that cools the body, the mind, and the heart. Now, Sri Radha quickly recognized the melody, but because it contained the name of her topmost rival, Chandravali, she became very upset. And she said, "Krishna, you're not chanting my name, you're chanting Chandravali's name." And she stormed out of the kunja without saying another word. Man, Radharani's man. But as Krishna ran behind her, at one point she disappeared. He's running right behind her. He can see her, but she just disappeared. So Krishna, he stopped. He was stunned. He's thinking, how can this be? Where has she gone? I was right behind her. However, the acharyas say that in this particular case, Vrindadevi had deployed a disguise called Chandma Antar Dhyana. Chandma Antar Dhyana, which means a disguise in which, although a person is present, they cannot be seen by others. Something akin to being invisible, but a particular power that Vrindadevi has. So she, Radharani was there, but Krishna couldn't see her because of Chandma Antar Dhyana. So Krishna gave up trying to follow Sri Radha, and after some time, Sri Radha arrived back at her home, Varshana, just to say the word Varshana. And there she revealed to her girlfriends how much Krishna had upset her. Consoling her, all her friends agreed that, they always do, that Krishna's actions had been very inappropriate and she had done the right thing by leaving him. However, later in the day, her girlfriends saw that Sri Radha was becoming restless and was often going to the window in her room and gazing out as if looking for someone, when suddenly her pet parrot, who lives in a golden cage, became restless. Now the acharyas say that Sri Radha's parrot has a special characteristic that he always acts, speaks, and behaves according to Sri Radha's heart feelings. I thought that was very sweet. Her parrot, she has a personal parrot, and the special characteristic of this parrot is that he always acts, speaks, and behaves according to Sri Radha's heart feelings. So, seeing his restlessness, because she's restless, seeing his restlessness, Sri Radha came forward. And while feeding that parrot little pieces of fruit and some nuts, she said, "My dear parrot, please say, Radhe, Radhe." So the parrot repeated, Radhe, Radhe. And at that point, Vishaka, who was standing nearby, she said to Sri Radha, "Radhe, every day you tell your parrot to say, Shaim, Shaim. Shaim, Shaim. Why are you asking him to say your own name today?" So Sri Radha replied, "Vishaka, because I want to do what makes Krishna happy. If my name comes to his ears and he feels pleasure, then it means my life and the voice of this parrot are both successful. It means my life and the voice of this parrot are both successful. Vishaka, devotional life means to do activities which give pleasure to your master, even if they do not give you pleasure." So when Vishaka heard this, she frowned and she said, but dear Radha, you're glorifying Krishna while he's having fun with Chandravali at this very moment. You should be angry with him. So Sri Radha, she just, thought for a minute, then she said, "Yes, that is true. But if I put aside my man, my anger, then I can go to see the Lord of my life, and that will mean everything to me. Let me burn my pride and love and reach the cooling lotus feet of Krishna. Let me burn my pride and love and reach the cooling lotus feet of Krishna." So at that point, Vishaka, she paused for a moment, and she kind of looked out the window. And what did she see? She was stunned to see Krishna walking towards the palace. And with her voice shaking, she said, "Sri Radha, your Krishna is coming. You were willing to give up your pride to see him, and he, though the king of Vrindavan, has agreed to approach you as a humble servant. Just see how love is reciprocal. All glories to you, Sri Radha. Now, as Krishna approached the palace, Sri Radha came outside to greet him, and when they met, they embraced, and all the Sakhis, they bathed them with a shower of flowers. Hare Krishna. Really wonderful pastime. So, a little short today, but we'll conclude with a few verses from Sri Rupa Goswami's Utkalika Valari. It's one of my favorite books, actually. I've carried it for the last 20 years with me. Utkalika Valari. Verses 11 through 16. Just listen to, Rupa Goswami's Rupa Manjari, so he knows these sentiments. He writes, O king, whose flute is very eager to sing the glories of Sri Radha, the deity of pure love. O queen, whose tongue tastes the sweetness of chanting the glories of Lord Mukunda, the joy of the world. O king, the sweetness of whose lotus eyes traps the swan of the heart of she who is the crown of Braja's girls. O queen, the net of whose sidelong glance expertly catches the regal fish of the prince of Braja's heart. O king, whose flute music is a cup for drinking the ocean of the eternal patience of the daughter of the Gopa king's friend. O queen, whose very graceful songs enchant the deer of the heart of he who enchants the entire world. O king, who, when you hear the name Radhika, forgets all playful arts. O queen, who when you hear the two syllables Krishna, becomes stunned and motionless. O son of the king of the Gopas, O daughter of the best man in Gokula, bowing down and placing folded hands above his head, this unfortunate person begs you both for a certain gift. O king and queen, the lakes of whose hearts are filled by the swiftly flowing nectar mountain streams of your great mercy, please be kind to this wicked person. Please show him the luster of the transcendental happiness that is the guarantee of being able to see you one day in the future. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki, Utkalari Valika ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Some real nectar there, Prabhus, and I believe we have perhaps one more summer pastime to share with you, and we'll be back in a couple of days. Thank you. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki, Shri Mayapur Dhama ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Shyam. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Krishna, everyone. A very warm welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. So in our past two lectures, we covered some of the divine couples' noonday and afternoon pastimes, namely at Radhakund and Suryakund. So today I'd like to discuss some of their late morning pastimes. I say some because, as we know, the pastimes of the Lord are unlimited. We all sang during the recent month of Kartik, a beautiful prayer from the Damodara Ashtaka. O Lord, I offer respectful obeisances unto your belly, the abode of the entire universe, which is bound by Mother Yashoda with a brilliantly effulgent rope. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer repeated obeisances to your dear most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I bow before you who are performing unlimited, super excellent pastimes. Hare Krishna. So we can begin today with cooking pastimes, morning cooking pastimes, some of which are found in Raya Shekhara's Astakala Leela Padavali and also in Govinda Leela Amrita. Therein we hear of Srimati Radharani's pastimes of cooking, especially when she is in Mother Yashoda's kitchen at Nandagram. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually wrote a song for Arti that lists the names of some of these preparations that Radharani cooks for Krishna in Mother Yashoda's kitchen. So in the morning, such cooking starts with Srimati Radharani receiving Yasoda's and Rohini's blessings to enter the kitchen and cook for Krishna. First of all, Radharani's maidservants wash and dry her lotus feet. Then she follows Rohini, Balaram's mother, into the kitchen, followed by her friends, all in single file, it's described. Radharani's friends follow her in, like ducklings follow their mother. So in the kitchen, Rohini gives each gopi a place to cook, a menu, and the necessary ingredients for cooking. However, knowing Sri Radha's cooking skills, she just encourages Sri Radha to cook whatever her heart desires. And surrounded by eager maidservants who know exactly what ingredients and utensils are needed for each preparation, Sri Radha sits on a wooden stool and begins cooking. Krishna's breakfast, actually. Now, it's mentioned in these scriptures that one of the opulences of Mother Yasoda's kitchen is that sandalwood is used for firewood in the cooking. I thought that was really nice. Sandalwood is used for cooking, for the firewood, giving a very, you can imagine, sweet aroma to the entire kitchen. And it's said that Sri Radha is very grave while cooking for Krishna, fully concentrating on each and every preparation. Now, there's a nice analogy given by our acharyas here. That is that her focus has been compared to a brahmana meticulously pronouncing each and every syllable of mantras he chants during a yajna. You know, she's focusing on making the preparations for Krishna. So much attention, just like a brahmana meticulously pronounces each and every syllable of mantras he chants during a yajna. And the following is quite a long list of some of the preparations that Srimati Radharani cooks for Krishna in the morning. There's Manohara Ladu, which is made with camphor and nutmeg. There's a preparation called Kadamba, a round, hard, sweet, shaped like a Kadamba flower. There's Padma Chini. It's a sweet made from lotus flowers, actually. There's Amrita Keli. It's a favorite milk sweet of Krishna. There's Gaja and Kaja. Gaja and Kaja, sweets made from flour, the latter of which it's described Krishna will literally run for. He'll literally run for it. Then there's Para. It's milk cooked down with sugar. There's Chandachura. This is an interesting one. Chandachura. It's a sweet, the taste of which can only be compared to powdered moonlight. Powdered moonlight. Then there's Mishri, which is a rock candy. Sarabhaja. Sarabhaja is a sweet made from cream. Then there's Sarapuri. It's a puri made by frying cream. Then she makes bindi ladu, sweet balls made of chickpea flour, and rasakara. It's the last of the sweets. It's made from coconut. And Radharani also prepares various beverages, like a fruit juice called rashala, and a cream drink called matani. She also makes, or rather she prepares different types of pickles, like to add flavor and spice to the preparations, achar. And she places each of them in a separate container for Krishna to take from. And Radharani also slices fresh fruits, especially selected by Mother Yashoda. She selects these fruits. And it's described that in the last phase of her cooking, Radharani prepares exquisitely fragrant rice and then cuts, cooks, and spices countless vegetables whose aroma could easily break the meditations of great sages. That's how it's described. Whose aroma could easily break the meditation of great sages. Now, when Radharani's finished making all these preparations with her helpers, they're all placed on golden plates and covered with thin cloths. And they're all carried, these golden plates are carried to tables where, interestingly, Mother Yasoda inspects them before serving them to Krishna. It's described just as a general reviews his troops before a battle. Mother Yasoda inspects them, actually before giving them to Srimati Radharani to serve to Krishna, just as a general reviews his troops. Of course, Mother Yasoda is well aware that anything Sri Radha cooks becomes nectar and doesn't have to be checked. But it's described out of her natural maternal instinct, she feels obliged to do so. But the Acharyas write, the real test of Radha's cooking comes when Krishna's friends, especially Madhu Mangal, sample one nectarian dish after another and express their approval by making all kinds of funny sounds. Now the Acharyas say that Radharani's cooking not only tastes like nectar, but is also pleasing to the eyes, which creates a sort of problem. And what's the problem? The problem is, how can one eat something so beautiful? It's very pleasing to the eyes. So how can someone eat something so beautiful, but then again, how can one resist something so inviting as those nectarian preparations? That's the problem. It's also said that because Radharani cooks and then serves the meal, each dish is so filled with her love that it overwhelms Krishna's mind and senses. And as such, he often loses his appetite and just sits picking at the food. So seeing this, Mother Yasoda becomes very upset. And she scolds Krishna. She says, son, I have asked Sri Radha, the best cook in all of Braja, to come at a great distance just to cook for you. And now you're just playing with your food? If you don't eat properly, then Radha will not come back again, and why should she? So hearing this, Krishna gets nervous and he looks, back and forth from Radha to his mother and from his mother to Radha, back and forth. And the Acharyas say, then, to please the two of them, Krishna eats everything on his plate. Quote, by invoking the same potency which helps him eat unlimited food offerings in an infinity of deity forms. Wow. He can eat all that food prepared by Radharani. How? By invoking the same potency which helps him eat unlimited food offerings in an infinity of deity forms. So beautifully put. So after breakfast, Krishna and his friends Well, you can imagine they take a nap. And perspiring from the heat and tired from all the cooking, Srimati Radharani comes out of the kitchen and sits in a nearby room in the palace, where her maidservants wash her feet and hands with cool, fragrant water, while Lalita Devi wipes her face and arms with a cold, damp cloth, all the while chastising Radharani for having overexerted herself by cooking for this cowherd boy. You know, that's Lalita's mood. She's very protective of Radharani. So just at that moment, Mother Yasoda appears, and she says, Shri Radha, now that you have fed everyone, you must also eat. So Srimati Radharani and her friends, while laughing and joking, eat preparations brought by Rohini, preparations that Kundalata had previously mixed with Krishna's remnants. Preparations are brought in by Rohini, but they're preparations that Kundalata had previously mixed with Krishna's remnants. So when Radharani finishes, she cleanses her mouth and accepts betel nuts to chew. So soon afterwards, Mother Yasoda asked Sri Radha to sit on a special seat, and with great affection, she begins to dress and ornament her. First by retying Radha's hair into a graceful braid. Then she applies fresh vermilion in the part of Radharani's hair. She puts tilak on her forehead, coryllium in her eyelids. Then she replaces Radharani's nose ring with her own most precious gold pearl. Mother Yasoda has a precious golden pearl, so she replaces Radharani's nose ring with this golden pearl. Then Mother Yasoda dresses Shri Radha in a beautiful blue sari. Its color actually matches perfectly Krishna's complexion, so when she puts it on, it's described, Radharani blushes. And meanwhile, one of Mother Yasoda's maidservants delivers a tray of ornaments. It's described that glitters like 1,000 suns. Then Yasoda selects a string of diamonds and hangs it around Shri Radha's neck. Then moving behind Shri Radha, Yasoda takes Radharani's braid, which we mentioned earlier, in her hands and decorates it with various hairpins. I was reading, one hairpin's made of gold, another's made of diamonds, one's made of pearls, and others are made of jewels like rubies and emeralds and sapphires. And while this intimate exchange is taking place between Shri Radha and Mother Yasoda, all of Radharani's girlfriends are looking on in amazement. Then Yasoda says, "Oh, my precious little girl, your form and qualities soothe my heart. I dream of them always. What sins have I committed that I cannot have you as my daughter? You and my son are like the two halves of my life, or the pupils of my two eyes. My husband, the king of Braja, also shares this sentiment, just as we share the sadness that you are not the wife of our dear Krishna." Of course, Radharani is Krishna's eternal consort, but for the sake of their pastimes as lovers, they never wed. Parakiya bhav. So after this, Mother Yasoda gets Krishna ready for taking his cows and friends into the forest. And part of that preparing him is she ties amulets and protective stones, on Krishna's wrists and arms so he'll be protected in the forest. And when she does that, Krishna offers her, it's described, prostrated obeisances while laughing at his mother's efforts to protect him from harm. And as Mother Yasoda accompanies Krishna and Balaram down Nandagram hill, she pleads with Krishna. It's very sweet. Oh, child, we have so much wealth. Why then do you have to go to the forest herding cows? Let others go. You can stay. I know none more dear than you. If misfortune were to befall you, I would perish. I shiver in fright to think of your body scorched by the sun's harsh rays and your soft soles pricked by sharp stones. So these words, little Krishna, he holds his mother's hands and he says, it's very nice. Maya, you need not fear. In the presence of Balaram, what harm can come to me? Besides, mother, there are no demons left in the forest. They're all dead. Besides, there are no demons left in the forest. They're all dead. The trees shelter us everywhere like big umbrellas, and the stones become like cotton balls under our feet. Please, mother, how could I neglect our tradition and my duty to care for the cows? How could I neglect our tradition and my duty to care for cows? Hare Krishna. So while Krishna is talking to his mother like this, one gopi reminds Mother Yasoda, O Queen, if you do not send Shrimati Radharani back to her home now, Chatila might become suspicious and forbid her from returning tomorrow to cook for Krishna. So Mother Yasoda embraces Krishna one last time and then gives him permission to depart, watching as he and Balaram leave with a large herd of cows into the forest. And after sending Krishna off, Mother Yasoda returns to her palace and with a sad heart consoles herself. How? By seating Shrimati Radharani on her lap. She knows she has to send her home, but she loves Radharani so much that she consoles herself from Krishna's departure by seating Radharani on her lap. Actually, the Acharyas have said, I read this yesterday, Yasoda's love for Radha is just as intense as her love for Krishna. Very profound. Yasoda's love for Radha is just as intense as her love for Krishna. So then Yasoda says to Shri Radha, it melts her heart, O Radha, consider me to be just like your mother, Kirtida, and this house just like your own home. Alas, because of gossip, I cannot even keep you here for a full day. Unfortunately, the small-minded villagers are too harsh. So poetic. Unfortunately, the small-minded villagers are too harsh. All the rumors. So the Acharyas, they say, as Mother Yasoda weeps, the palace walls melt in sympathy, and young gopis weep alongside her. Then Radha uses her own sari to wipe the tears from Yasoda's face, and then falls into Mother Yasoda's loving embrace. Let me recite that again. As Mother Yasoda weeps, the palace walls melt in sympathy, and the young gopis weep alongside her. Then Shri Radha uses her own sari to wipe the tears from Yasoda's face, and then falls into Mother Yasoda's loving embrace. Hare Krishna. Such wonderful morning pastimes. The whole day, the whole night is filled with nectarian pastimes in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So today we'll finish, as we often do, with very choice verses from Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati's Vrindavan Mahim Amrita. Always a perfect way to finish. To start, to stay in the middle, and to finish with. He writes, I meditate on Vrindavan, resounding with the cuckoo's fifth note, and the playful sound of the flute, full of dancing peacocks and blossoming creepers and trees, replete with graceful, shining bowers, and colorful with flocks of birds and deer, endowed with various attractive rivers, ponds, and Govardhan Hill. May my eyes, being overwhelmed, see the sweet waves of Vrindavan's beauty. May my intelligence drown in the ocean of Vrindavan's great nectar. May my body, filled with ecstatic bliss, roll on the ground of Vrindavan. May I offer respects falling down like a stick to all the living beings in Sri Vrindavan Dham. May the supreme abode of Vrindavan, from which one can experience just by living here, a sweet ocean of great rasa, which cannot be attained as a conclusion, even after deliberating on the words of the Upanishads, kindly manifest me. Hare Krishna. So we'll leave you with those nectarian words of Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, and we'll be back in a few days with some nectar about our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Mother Yasoda ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Mayapur Dhama ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtanya ki, Gaura Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe, Shine. Jai Prabhupada, Hare Bol. Krishna, very dear devotees, welcome back again to our continued series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pashtita Dishatane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, by Krishna's special grace, I find myself back in Sri Vrindavan Dham, most likely for an extended stay by Srimati Radharani's special grace. When I went for darshan in our Krishna Balaram temple yesterday and saw our most beautiful deities there, Radha Shama Sundar, I also remembered two sets of Radha Krishna deities that are very dear to my heart, especially because they were the first pair of Radha Krishna deities I saw in my life as a devotee. And that is Radha Landaneshwara and Radha Paraseshwara. I remembered them. They're both unique in our movement, actually, due to the fact that both Radharanis are not in the, you could say, the usual pose of most of our Radharanis in our temples today. If you look carefully, you'll see that many of ISKCON's Radharanis are in a dancing pose. It's become very popular in the last 3 decades. I was told by the sadhus here in Braj that when Sri Radha is in the dancing pose, Krishna will never leave her. But actually there's a number of poses of Radharani as a deity next to Krishna, mentioned in Govinda Lilamrita.
Govinda Adi Purusha Bhagavatam samasitam Buddha sundarangam Kandharva koti kamaniya Visheshashobham Govinda Kshiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sanu Jala Nigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprasthaya Bhutale Krishna Chandra Sukhe Nidra Deva Shalakashiki pucha chamara dulaya. Apurva sayaya Krishna suke nirayaya. Yasomati anga priye danishtaya nito. Shri Krishna prasad radha gunje hoye prito. Lalithari sakti gana avashesha paya. Mane mane sukhe radha Krishna guna gaya. Hari lila ekmatra jahara pramoda. Bhogarati gai takur bhakti vinoda. Katava katava tsala Sri Gaura Hari. Vajapa katava tsala Sri Gaura Hari. Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gosta Bihari. Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gosta Bihari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala.
Vrindavana Ramyasthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratana Mandira Manohara. Vrindavan अष्टदले वेष्टित अष्टदले प्रधानायिका करमध्ये रत्नासाने वशिया छे दुई जाने श्याम संगे सुंदरी राधिका वृंदावन रम्य स्थान दिव्य चिंतामणि धाम रतन मंदिर मनोहर लावण्यारासी आमिया परिचय खासी हास्य परिहास संभाषणे लावण्यारासी आमिया परिचय खासी हास्य परिहास नरोत्तम दास कोय नित्य लीला सुखमय सदाई स्फुरक मोर माने नरोत्तम दास कोय नित्य लीला सुखमय सदाई स्फुरक मोर वृंदावन रम्य स्थान दिव्य चिंतामणि धाम रतन मंदिर मनोहर हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे